Creating a lasting change through digital transformation and innovation isn't easy, as new technologies regularly emerge and impact customer expectations. Antonio Cano is a member of the executive board of Ageas and managing director for Europe. Implementing change in a multinational organization is a challenge, especially in times of digital transformation and innovation. We've invited Antonio to share his vision and learnings and the factors that can make it a success. Please welcome Antonio on stage.
I'm the last man standing between you and the after-conference drinks. So thanks for being here. I'm sure it will be worth your while. Reggie has already introduced me. Maybe some words about Ageas. It's a group that you're probably not that familiar with. So we are a mid-sized European, by origin European group, active in a few markets in Europe, Belgium being the largest one, and the rest of our activities are in Asia, which actually represents today about 50% of our net profit. We are peculiar in the sense that we're very much a joint venture company. All our activities in Asia and also Turkey are based on joint ventures with strong local partners, mostly banks. We do all kinds of insurance, general, life, employee benefits, health, but we don't do everything everywhere. And then another thing that is probably striking for Ageas is that we are very local. So we give a lot of autonomy to our operating companies. There is not one Ageas way, and particularly things in digital models, there is a lot of knowledge sharing and collaboration, but all the strategies are fairly local. We also participate in some venture capital funds. We actually sit in a few boards of them, and active in, say, the digital space, be it data analytics, healthcare, prop tech. And we have also a few of these digital ventures ourselves. I must say that the experience has been so far rather humbling. And I guess that resonates a lot with you. It is not easy and it always takes longer. So that's a bit about Ageas. Next, I will discuss my main question, what is it for the customer? All these digital models, is it really in the interest of the customer? What does he actually expect? And then I'll give you a few examples of how we go about this in Belgium and in the UK. I will not discuss any Asian models. And if we have some time left at the end, I'll give you some last remarks on how I see our industry, let's call it the digital insurance industry, startups, venture capital, what kind of challenges we are facing now today. Few simple symbols. I don't have a lot of slides. The first one you might guess, the others might slightly baffle you. Some of the things I will say now, most of it you will agree with. Some will you be not really agreeing with, I hope. The first is money. What does the customer want? It's price. Let's face it, price is an important factor. I like to cite David Stevens, the former CEO of Admiral, a company you all surely know and I personally admire. In a similar conference like this, he said, well, the customer only cares about price, and rightly so. That's a very bold statement. It's probably true in the UK market that price is really there the determining factor. In the rest of Europe, it is a very important factor, but there are also other things. Now, these are the hard facts that we're faced with in insurance, and we would like things to be differently, but things are as they are, and they're sometimes difficult, and we have to accept it. Fact is, a day has 24 hours. So all the new stuff we're rolling out, we're always competing for time. Customers don't have the time to, again, learn another app. The third one is, let's face it, you are not an objective audience here, but insurance is essentially not a very emotionally enticing service. Some people say it is just boring. People know very little about insurance. People have no time, no energy to actually learn about it if they don't have to, and I would say rightly so. The other one is also a fact, and that's what we call the touch points. We all like to have a lot of touch points with our customers, but we don't have that many, particularly in the P&C space. certainly in the life space, there's just not a lot of interaction with customers. It means that it's very difficult to create a brand, create stickiness just based on the touch points. And then we have also very peculiar, what I call the insurance paradox. That is, in P&C, our best customers are actually the ones that interact with us less. Why is that so? Because they claim less. So the customers that actually never use our service are our best customers. And the customers that always are claiming, we kick them out, which is a kind of weird thing in our industry. The other one is this frequency, it's very much tied to it. People don't buy that often insurance. That's a big challenge we face. It's typically once a year. If you have like tacit renewal, they don't even have a buying decision really, they just renew. If you have whole life contracts or term life contracts that go long, they just buy it once. So it's very difficult for them to get acquainted with actually what we offer and to learn about it. And then the last one is maybe the one that you might not agree with, but customers today are overall quite satisfied with insurance. I mean, we've gone a long way the last 20, 30 days. Customers are happy. We do, and across Europe and Asia, we have in Ageas NPS scores of 40 to 50. They used to be negative. So customers are actually quite okay. So what do they expect more? That's a bit of a challenge. Now some people say, yeah, you're describing insurance as a commodity. It's all about price, simple, low cost. So it's a commodity, right? And then I've got one question for you. Yes, it can be perceived as a commodity until... Who dares? Well, maybe you said it, until you have a claim. That's the moment of truth. So yes, it is a commodity until you have a claim. You might say, yeah, this is true for the old customers, not true for the younger generation. They're more digitally savvy, they don't behave like that. I dare to disagree. I think some of these things are even stronger in the younger generation. They have less time, less interest, everything must be quick, easy, and they do care about price. So it's not true that the young cohorts are kind of easier to approach and deal with in digital models. You could also say that, is this true for just the insurance company? The service we render is just not the insurance company, it's a whole value chain actually to take into mind. The perception that a customer has is not just a perception of the insurance company, it's the perception of the intermediary, for example, or the claim repair that he deals with, is he has that. So if we agree, we could say, this is the reality. There's a lot about price, but there are also other things which I like to define under the umbrella of convenience. So convenience matters. Now, what is convenience? At AG in Belgium, I think I have to click twice always. We call it the dentist strategy. Why is that the dentist? If you go to a dentist, what do you want? It must be fast, it must be easy, it must be painless. Translated to insurance, fast means not that you are very, very quick, it just meet your deadlines. If you agree something with a customer, I will give you the quote or the claim will be ready by X, Y, Z. You need to meet that. Must be fast, but just according with his expectations. The second thing, it must be easy. So no complicated wording, no complicated apps. It must be easy to understand because remember, he has no time and no energy, no will to really invest in it. And then the third time is painless. And painless is essentially keeping your promise. No surprises. Again, particularly when there is a claim. If the customer has the right to believe that he is covered, and you're saying, no, you're not covered or not totally for this, that, and the other, he experiences pain. So those are the three things that you really have to avoid, and this is what convenience is about. Now, you could say that, do you have to choose between price and convenience? Is there a real trade-off there? I would dare to say that's not true. Actually, and there is where digital models or digital solutions come into play. They are really a tool to make it and low price and convenience. And low price it's about costs. Obviously, it's admin costs, it's your rising IT costs, but also sales, marketing, claims handling, so your average claim cost, claim spend, that all fits into the equation, and also underwriting. Let's not forget that the price must be as low as possible, but it must be the right price. If you get your underwriting wrong, then all other things won't help, I can assure you. Now I'm going to give you two examples of how you put these principles into practice, two very different examples. Now this is a slide to baffle you. It's deliberately very complicated. It's actually one of the working documents we use in the UK to map customer journeys. It's laborious. It's their teams from underwriting, claims, compliance is in their IT, even also outside customers, and they just analyze the customer journeys, be it claims, be it underwriting, and try actually to reduce the pain points, get waste out of the process. It's laborious, but it's effective. But you have to keep on doing this. A lot of the solutions that they come up with are typically, and this is the UK market, so remember your UK market is very much a direct market, where there's a lot of interaction relatively with the end customer, particularly around claims. In other markets, which are intermediate, is less. A lot of the things that they come up with is online servicing, where actually the customer doesn't speak to anybody of our call center. And the adoption there, and this is the good news, is actually very high. These are just some numbers I took from some processes. These are processes where it's from end to end, the customer has never spoken to anybody. He might have used a chatbot, but he hasn't consumed resources of our call centers. So it's really about driving the costs out of the system and just providing the service he wants. So you see very high percentages, except for the home term changes along the way. If you change house, for example, that's typically complicated to do just online. But we're getting at a very high levels, and more importantly, you see the trust score, which is like a survey that's being done in the UK, is quite high, by 4. So customers are really satisfied, even if they have never spoken to anybody. So it is possible, and we use there a lot of tools, particularly for this process, and I won't mention any vendor names, but it's a speech and text recognition analytics tool, where you actually record all your calls you've had with the customer, all the mails you receive, they're analyzed, and there's a kind of root cause analysis coming out of the analysis. And that helps you identify pain points and solve them. No big IT project was needed here. It is a lot of tweaking in the systems, so it is laborious and it is labor intensive. The UK, by the way, our UK company uses a lot of these tools. They're one of the first adopters of RPA technology, claims adjustment using video technology and AI behind it, things like that. They try most of the time, say 50% of the time, it's a kind of success, but it always takes longer, right? Now something totally different, a very different approach in a very different market. This is AG, Belgium, our largest entity. Here the challenge was how to move from a situation where for like 30 years of COBOL-based applications, running on a mainframe DB2, very old-fashioned classical style. How do you move such an organization to a totally new state-of-the-art digital platform? You could say, yeah, we'll just buy some package, you roll out some package. No, we said, no, there's too much functionality. It's 30 years work of functionality. We won't do that. And actually the move was to move that environment to an SQL Windows environment, away from the mainframe. It was a 4-year project, and I think it was Easter 22. In that weekend, they made the switch. There was 80 million lines of COBOL code. There are about 15 million daily transactions. 60,000 batches run by night. All that on Monday, boom, click on and it functioned. Why did they do that? Two reasons. The costs of running this system, so the TCO, dropped by 75%, moving away from the IBM DB2 classic heavy mainframe to this server-based architecture, reduced our costs with 75%. As I said in the beginning, price matters, therefore costs, so this is had a huge impact on the dynamics of the company. The second reason why they did that is all of a sudden you are in a very different world. You're no longer based in an old COBOL style thing. The code is still COBOL based, but in a very new environment, and then you can gradually upgrade it. So the productivity of developers has gone up enormously. And with this new platform, they also open up the core systems of AG, and there are only 4 older products rather than 4. It's very easy to open them up to APIs that make sense, and all kinds of new possibilities are open, again, to improve that convenience to customer. And in Belgium, also very important, the intermediary. Be aware, in contrast with the UK, this is a heavy intermediated market, be it the bank, BNP Paribas, which is our partner, or the insurance brokers. So that was the main reason. And then, actually, there's a second side to this. With this new replatforming and a new data platform architecture, they actually moved the data that was sitting in 2 separate systems, one supporting the operations, and typically what you have, a data warehouse-like environment that are separate. They moved into one SQL single data backbone, which again opens a lot of possibilities when you can really close what I like to call the last mile in analytics. You have all these data scientists that do a lot of analysis and come a lot of models, but it's so difficult to get them operational, to get it up to the front line. They have to either simplify so they lose a lot of the effect, or it's just tedious. If it is in one data backbone, the problem is kind of disappears. And you are really able now to use real-time, online, all your operational data and your analytics data at the moment when you need it. So that was a big step forward. And again, it opens up new things. So the message here is, in the UK, you saw not a big bang IT program, a lot of tweaking, a lot of external tools with fairly basic underlying core systems. So you can take it very far, or you can do a big transformative thing where the incumbent, the dinosaurs that we're called, actually transforms into something totally else. This has never been done before, by the way, in Europe. Now, I promise you, if you had some time, some takeaways, which are not on the slide. What does this mean actually for venture capitalists, startups? Some of you are here in the room. Well, there's one thing to consider that is a bit outside of this, that interest rates have gone up. We're aware. They're not very high in terms of historical reasons, but they've gone up very quickly. A few years ago, remember, we had 0 interest rates or negative interest rates. So if you had like long-term projects, cash flows in the future were actually worth quite a lot. So investors seem to have more patience to have projects that just take longer to have a payback. Today things have changed. Interest rates are a bit more normal. So cash flows in the future are less interesting. So the patience is less. The short-termism is bigger. Coupled to that VCs, investors, realize, and we have some examples that I will not mention, that this new digital insurance startups, that they take a long time to get traction. For the reasons I mentioned, this is it's the facts. It is the low frequency of buying, it's a low emotional attachment. So it takes long to get traction. So don't come up with a business plan that says, yeah, I'm going to grow 40, 50% the first year. It's just not going to happen. And investors have become aware of that. And then the other thing is technology. There's a lot of new technology out there. And the life cycles of technology tends to be shorter. So any new thing that you come up with, any new RPA or analytics tool, I mean, 10-year projections don't make any sense. It really should be the focus in getting your payback on a very, very short term. I don't want to end on such a slightly depressing note, maybe. I think we should be aware that customers, thanks to COVID, have adopted the digital solutions in a massive way. I mean, what COVID has done would have taken 10 years. So people know that you can do things from behind your screen at home, and actually the world worked. Even insurance could be bought and sold. So customers, they are ready for it. If it suits them, they will. So that's the good news. And another good news is a lot of technology out there. It's cheaper and cheaper. The challenge is with all that technology, you have to choose well, say no to a lot of things, and really try to avoid, particularly us as incumbent, a lot of different technologies that are difficult to integrate. But if you get it all right, you will see that you can actually reduce your price to the customer, which is what he wants, and have a more convenience journey in all types of journey, either in acquisition or claims or whatever. And then to end up, before I let you go, I'm sure that one thing you'll remember of this speech, that is next time you visit the dentist. Thank you.